Hey everybody, I'm Katherine Reay, and I'm here with Rachel Linden and Marie Bostwick for the 10-minute book talk. And we are so happy to have you here because today is the book launch party for The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. Yay! This is Rachel's new release, came out yesterday, and I had the honor of reading it early. And if you page through it, you can find my blurb. I loved it, which is why it's on my phone, because the audiobook downloaded, and I'm loving that too. Downloaded yesterday when it released, and I'm having so much fun, and you will too. So Rachel, tell us a little bit about this story.
This story, so The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie, is about Lolly Blanchard, who's a pie maker, and 10 years before the story opens, she has given up everything, including an engagement ring and her dream career in England, when her mother dies unexpectedly. She goes home to Seattle, and she's taking care of her father and her younger sister and trying to keep their struggling diner afloat. 10 years later, she's given the magical second chance to redo her 3 biggest regrets in life and get a chance to live 3 days as if she'd made different choices all those years before. And the question is, can she regain the life she still longs for and the love of the man she can't seem to forget? So that's what it's about.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I absolutely loved it, but I have to tell you, there's so much in it that I want to know how you came up with it. And you know, what compelled you to write this? What was your inspiration for this? Because you took us to so many different emotional places and physical places. I mean, it was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So I thought of this coming back from a writer's publicity seminar in Nashville, and I was on a Delta Airlines flight, and a friend at the conference had just kind of prompted me to think of another good idea. And so I was on this plane, and I scribbled on one of those drinks napkins, like those little wacky drinks napkins, Delta napkins, what if you could redo your 3 biggest regrets? And I just couldn't let go of that thought, that question, what would happen if we had a chance to redo our 3 biggest regrets? And so the story of Lolly came out of that. And I didn't want it to be a story that looked at what it looks like if we can totally change life. I wanted it to be a story about the fact that we can't change life and we just have to do the best we can with what we have. Then COVID hit while I was writing it, and it became a very, very personal story. So first of all, I was writing it during the lockdowns in Seattle, which were brutal and long. And it was a wonderful way to escape into a world where there were no masks and no virus. But at the same time, I was using the story to process what it means to be handed a life. What do you do when life hands you lemons? How do you make lemonade? And what do you do when you're handed a life that isn't what you expected or would have chosen? How do you make a good life out of that? So that was kind of the idea came. And then during 2020, as I wrote it, it became very personal and very meaningful as I wrote the story.
You can feel all of that within the novel. I love hearing that backstory.
It really is tremendous. I got to read it early too. I loved it. I was like texting you partway through. Pacing on this is pitch perfect. I mean, like every time you get to the end of the chapter and you started out thinking, I'll just do this chapter. Well, you can't, you have to keep going because there's things you need to know. So you sucked me in. One of the things you sucked me in early on is like, these are just great characters. I love Lolly's family, her father, her sister, Lolly herself. But I gotta say, for me, the character that I just couldn't get enough was Aunt Gert, who has the most weird but workable wardrobe I've ever seen. I just loved her. So I know, because I know you, that there's a little bit of a story behind Aunt Gert. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so Aunt Gert really rocks a caftan and matching headpiece like nobody's business. Aunt Gert is based on my real life Dr. Catherine Smith, my great aunt, who was as very much like every bit as much a character as Aunt Gert and then some. I had to actually tone her down for the Aunt Gert character. But she was just this wise, quirky, eccentric, brilliant woman who had brought herself up from utter poverty in Appalachia to become a doctor of literature in New York City. And she worked with the UN and traveled the world. And her life was just this amazing, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and doing the most with what you've been given. And so I used her as an inspiration, first of all, because she was just such a fabulous character. I had to put her in a book, but she's real life, but also because it fits so well into what Lolly learns about life. And the inspiration that Aunt Gert is to say, yeah, you've been given some lemons, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, follow your bliss, and do that by being honest, by seeking joy, and by paying attention.
Oh,
I did
wow.
those in order, but yeah.
Wish I could have met your aunt, your great aunt.
Oh, she was a character. Yeah, not as many turbans, but all the spiciness of Aunt Gert.
Okay, so I want to hit everybody. I want to hit this note. The title is The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. And there is this, as Rachel's described, this beautiful element of magical realism in there. And Rachel, it is the hallmark of your stories. I've read every book you've written, and I love this treasure, this little drop of joy, sunshine, and interest that you put in it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I love magical realism because there's just something beautiful about the transcendence and the wonder of it, and a little bit of the mystery of it. Not mystery like, oh, a mystery to be solved, but something that says something good and wonderful is in the world that we can't totally explain, but it touches our lives and it changes our lives for the better. And so I love putting that in my stories. And I loved using that even more with Lolly. She has these 3 lemon drops that she's given. And those are the things that she takes a lemon drop and it transports her to a day. She can live a day in a life that she could have had she made a different choice. And so I had so much fun putting it in because it just kind of opens up the world that is a world I'd sort of like to live in. So I love to put the magical realism elements in because it just gives that extra little sparkle, but also a sense of joy and wonder about the possibilities in life.
Well, and I think it's so relatable because who hasn't had that thing where they've looked in their past and thought, gee, if I could have just made a different choice at that moment, where would I be now? So it's fun to imagine that. I'm just going to do, because you're much too nice to do it, I'm going to do a shameless plug for you. I know that you are doing, so people should go check out Rachel's website, rachellinden.com, because she's doing a number of Zoom events, but also live events at the Pacific Northwest. And I have to tell you, you get a twofer because a couple of them, I'm going to be interviewing Rachel. So you can come see both of us. And we like so check out some events around the Seattle area and other places too. I would love to see you. But my other question for you, now that I've done with the shameless commerce part of the day, is just like, this is such a rich novel and there's so much going on here. It's a really readable read, but there is real depth to it. So what is it that you would like readers to take away from this, Rachel?
Well, I think it's that we have the capability within ourselves to take the lemons that life hands us and to make lemonade. And that regardless of what life hands you, you are able to make a choice to live a better story. So that's the real heart of it. And as Aunt Gert tells Lolly, follow your bliss. And that doesn't mean just trying to figure out what makes you happy. That means to, in every circumstance, follow that little spark of light. And you are paying attention, being honest, and seeking joy, whatever the circumstances. And so that's what I really want readers to walk away with. And that's what Lolly walks away with. And that's what I walked away with reading this story.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and in that vein, we always end, as you know, because you're a host here every week, we ask this question: what is bringing you joy today? What is making you happy?
Well, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I'm on a little island in the Pacific Northwest. And actually, I'm going to give you a little peek out the window because this is what is bringing us joy. We have not had a lot of sunshine. And
wow.
Gorgeous. And I've been doing tons of kayaking in the sunshine, and that is bringing me tremendous joy. So kayaking or sitting on my deck, watching the blue herons, the great blue herons and seals and things, and finally feeling like summer has arrived. So that is bringing me great joy, and everyone else in the Pacific Northwest right now.
Oh yeah, that is fantastic. And I'm jealous because I know you two are probably out sitting on that porch together. So that's all I will say about that.
Times.
You're always invited, Catherine.
I know. Okay, so readers, there it is. Rachel's going to hold it up again. The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. Just do yourself a favor and grab a copy because it's beautiful and you will thoroughly enjoy that experience. We've loved having you here with us today, and we will see you again next week for another book talk. And this is the 10-minute book talk wishing you well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.